Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the League Racing TV YouTube channel. If you've just tuned into the previous stream that we had running, we had qualifying for the first round of the TTML Division 3 season, and unfortunately we had a little bit of a lobby glitch, as per usual, with the Formula 1 2020 game, so we have had to restart this lobby, unfortunately, for the start of the race. But I'm back with Conti in the commentary box for the first race of the Season 3, so qualifying was a pretty interesting one to go through. For the people that haven't seen the qualifying session so far, Nolan gets his first pole position of the season in the first round of the season. Great qualifying for him. Jan in the front of the grid as well. But interestingly, a lot of people may be going for compromise setup because we do have a wet race ahead of us.
Yeah. I just read in Discord we have light rain for the rest of the race. So yeah, I think a couple of guys who aren't in front, who we expected to be higher up, have used the compromise setup. So yeah, that's why maybe not everything went as we expected before quali started.
Yeah, definitely not. A little bit of a shock to the system that we saw quite a few people a bit further down the field, especially the two Williams pair. We did have a little bit of a conversation, maybe a little bit of a Williams appreciation moment at the start of the previous stream, saying how strong they looked going into the season. They only qualified 9th and 13th on the grid for this round of the season. That may be because they were running compromised setups for the wet conditions, but even so, like we mentioned a bit earlier on, if you're going to run a compromised setup for the wet conditions, you've got to hope that your wet setup is incredibly strong, because otherwise you're just kind of going to get stuck in the middle of the pack, really, aren't you?
Yeah. With a wet setup, usually you've got a lot more downforce, so you don't really have an advantage on the straight. So you have to get it from the corners and having good exits and trying to force something there, or you're just going to be stuck whole race long, and that's really, really frustrating.
Yeah, for these drivers as well, the conditions, by the way, were light rain coming into this, so we should be seeing light rain in this race as well, which means that there wasn't a lot of standing water on the track. It did look like we were going to get light rain for the majority of the race distance, so it didn't seem likely that it was going to dry up. But even so, light rain conditions on intermediate tyres are quite difficult to manage, aren't they? Because there's not a lot of standing water, so it's very easy then to overheat those intermediate tyres.
Yeah, it is. Some standing water is just great for these tires to cool them down a bit. You can go off the racing line on the straights to cool them down a bit. If you don't have that, and especially on a track like this, where tire wear is already high, you can be struggling with overheating your tires. So yeah, you really have to manage them to perfection to complete this race and have good pace.
Yeah, you really do have to manage them well. So we'll wait and see if those compromise strategies do help those drivers with aiding those tyres, really. We do expect, even in these conditions, for people to go for a one-stop in this race, wouldn't you? Because the intermediates aren't going to make it a full race distance.
No, I don't expect them to be, but these guys have proved me wrong in the past. So it could be now, but looks like we're going to start. Oh no, of course, we've got formation lap.
Yeah, I've got a formation app for the start of this race, of course. Yeah, coming then around. So we'll just have a quick run through of what qualifying was then. So here is the order for you for the start of the first race of the season. Like we mentioned, Nolan on pole position ahead of Jan on the front row for, I think, the first time maybe in Division 3. That might be the first time that he's on the front row. I don't think he's actually been on the front row in the past. And one thing to note as well, I believe, didn't we have a wet race in the Belgium race last season? I don't know if I remember that correctly or not. I think we had something to do with wet conditions. Oh no, that was in qualifying, never mind, it wasn't in the race. It was in qualifying we had wet conditions, and Jan got caught out by the wet conditions. So, do you think maybe Jan might struggle a little bit more in these conditions?
I don't know. I don't really remember a wet race from last season. At all. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a surprise. The only one I know from season 1 who had great pace in the rain is F1 AMG. And yeah, a couple of guys who were racing in Division 3 back then, but already moved up. So yeah, it's kind of hard to predict this one.
Definitely is going to be hard to predict. We did predict a little bit earlier on. I think we both agreed on F1 AMG being maybe the favourite to win this race because of the performances we've seen from him in wet conditions. We'll wait and see what he can do in these wet conditions, if he can hold on to it. I think we both predicted Jan to be second place in this race as well. And then third place, I can't actually fully remember who we went for third place in this one.
Martin Bell.
There we go, Martin Bell. Martin Bell then obviously, he was a reserve last season, he's reserve this season as well, but when he did actually turn up to races last season as a reserve, he performed incredibly well. Obviously, the one we really have to mention was that French race. He was in second for the entirety of that race before a connection problem for B. Morgan put him in the race-winning contention, and he took it with both hands and won that race. So, can't count Martin Bell out of a race win here.
No, you can't. I should say he is a reserve, but he really has some good pace, and he could run with the top guys last season. So expecting a lot from him again.
Definitely, yeah. He obviously raced last week as well in the final race of the season 2 season in the Williams at Abu Dhabi, and he performed really well there. Managed to copy the same strategy as Isotopic really in that race, and didn't quite get as high up in the field because of a lowly qualifying position, but even so had a great race last time out. I believe finished in 4th place if I remember correctly. So Martin Bell coming off the back of a good race last time out in Abu Dhabi. So we'll wait and see how this one is going to pan out. Everyone is lining up on the grid, so fingers crossed. We should get ready for the start of the first race of the season for season 3 here in TTML. Just wait for a couple of people at the back of the field, but it looks like we might be a little bit delayed again, unfortunately. No, we are not. We actually are ready now. It was a little bit of a delay, but here we go. Here come the lights then ahead of the drivers. Who's going to get the best start in the wet conditions? Lights out, and away they go. They're off the line very, very gingerly. It looks like F1 AMG, though, has made a stellar start from the second row of the grid. He's already alongside Jan going into turn 1, but Jan's now trying to challenge Nolan into turn 1, who cuts across the Mercedes ever so slightly, gives him just enough room, and they get through turn 1 cleanly, it seems, at the front of the field. Further back down the field, it seems to be clean at the back as well. So everyone is through turn 1 so far. As we head down towards turn 3, as Jan's trying to go around the outside now of Nolan into turn 3. Can he get that one done? He's on the curb, though, when they exit the corner. There's not a lot of traction there, but he's still managed to get that car down the inside. And there's wheel-to-wheel contact, and he spins the car off of the side of Nolan. He's managed to just keep it out of the wall. He doesn't get any damage, but Jan, an ambitious move down the inside of turn 4, and it's not paid off. He spins from 20th all the way to the back of the field alongside his teammate, who is now down at the back of the field in the other Mercedes as well. What a disastrous start for the Mercedes team. What a great start for F1 AMG up to 2nd place, and Martin Bell, what a start for him, up to 3rd from 6th on the grid.
Yeah, great start from him. As we said, he's really good. We haven't seen him in the rain yet, but doing really good as well. And yeah, it's a good thing these guys had a clean start, because it's really difficult to get to turn 1 with everyone. But Jan, yeah, just a shame to see a bit too aggressive, and yeah, in the end, completely didn't pay it off for him.
It didn't, unfortunately, as Old School's going for a move on Nelly here around the outside of turn 13. Can he get that move done? There's a little bit of contact, but they get away with it. Nelly holds on to 12th as well, I think, as actually Sean's coming down the inside, but he can't get that move done. Another person who's had an amazing start is Vision in the Haas. I believe he started this race in 12th place. He's up to 7th already and challenging the back of Atari, who is the lead new rookie to this season. Currently in 6th place in the Ferrari. He's dropped behind his teammate in the opening lap, and now Vision is having a go at him, maybe down towards turn 1, not quite close enough. But Vision may be one of his drivers that compromised his setup for the wet conditions. Maybe wasn't that good in qualifying, but on the opening lap at least, he's got a lot of confidence in that car. He's on the ZRS, can't get the move done down towards turn 3, but what a great start from the Haas driver.
Yeah, he gained 5 positions in a lap, so great driving from him. And as you said, maybe he's running a compromised setup, but he's making it work. So and really putting the pressure on Hunty now, as he tried to move alongside, but tucked back into him at the end to not get damaged. And yeah, he's doing really good.
He's definitely doing really good. One thing to note as well about these wet conditions, it is actually quite difficult to run out of ERS in these conditions, because you obviously are on the brake a lot more in these conditions than you would be in the dry, so it's a lot easier to save up ERS. So Vision can attack with as much ERS as he wants at the front of the field. Nolan still leads the way. The top 3 are starting to gap the rest of the field a little bit more, though. We saw this quite a few times last season in the races, and we may be seeing it again here. There's a bit of a gap forming between Martin Bell and Simply Superman, who still runs 4th in this race. In the second, Alfa Romeo. As for the Williams drivers, started 9th and 13th in this race. They're up to 8th and 11th so far, so they're both gained on the opening lap. Unfortunately, Steph has only gained because of Jan's moment towards the back of the field. Oldschool's gained a couple places in all the carnage of the opening lap, so they're starting to work their way forwards a little bit, but now we're entering that phase of the race where it's kind of starting to settle down a little bit.
Yeah, it is. You see a gap forming from P3 to P4, and Hero joking quite a bit behind him as well, but in behind them, it's still pretty close with Hero Jokin, Hunty, MBD Vision, and Steph. So, and yeah, just for everybody watching, it is incredibly difficult in light rain on the intermediate tires where they tend to overheat and have dirty air as well around this track. So, yeah, hats off to these guys.
Yeah, doing a good job. Vision, unfortunately, has picked up a time penalty on the exit of turn 1, so he's the first person to do that. It's very easy to do that around this track. It's easy to run slightly off the track, and the track limit warnings here are quite brutal, but even so, Vision trying to go for a move, and look at that. Was Hero Jokin in front of them, has a massive moment through turn 8, and Vision really late on the brakes down the inside of turn 9. I think that was more of an avoidance of the back of the Ferrari than an overtaking attempt. I think he got caught out by the Ferraris braking a little bit early there, but he saw a little bit on board with Vision. He put the ERS on through the middle of turn 8, and the rear of the car stepped out. Hero Jokin in front of him also lost the rear of the car in that corner as well. So Always Atari has a big moment there in the chicane, and that is easy meat for Vision. He's down the inside. Can Steph capitalise as well? Steph's not quite close enough, but Vision finds the gap, and there was a mistake from the Ferrari man in front, so he bided his time and has got the move done. Now he's got an opportunity to get into the top 5.
Yeah, and that's what you have to wait for sometimes in these conditions. Just a little mistake the guy in front of you makes, and capitalize on that immediately. And the Vision did great there, and now probably he's getting the hunt on Hero Jokin, who seemed to struggle as well as his teammate Hintari.
Yeah, both Ferraris maybe set up more for the dry conditions, it seems. They are struggling a little bit for pace, as Atari is immediately now under pressure from Steph behind. Both Renaults as well. It's two Renaults in the middle of a Williams sandwich at the moment. They're trying to get their way forwards, but they've not found any pace so far. Unfortunately, in the Renaults, they're kind of stuck where they qualified at this moment in time. Kiki and Stave have both gained a place, but that is from Jan's mistake. Jan, meanwhile, he's worked his way back ahead of his teammate, but hasn't got any higher than 19th as it stands. He's still stuck down at the back behind the two McLarens. Langfeld's had a good start from last on the grid. He's up to 16th, so he's gained 4 places in this opening phase of the race as well. So trying to work, just trying to work his way forwards a little bit. Is Vision now onto the back of Hero Jokin coming into turn 9, and how quickly Vision caught Hero Jokin. You've got to say, if Vision can clear Hero Jokin quickly, he could have a run at Simply Superman.
Yeah, you can. Vision really looking quick on in these conditions, and Hero Jokin is struggling a bit. So if he can overtake him, last lap he did it on Atari at this corner, 11 and 12. If he can clear him, I think he's a bit faster, and he can catch Simply Superman quite quick after that.
He definitely can. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Simply Superman's closed in slightly on Martin Bell. Both Martin Bell and F1 AMG, they're not exactly being held up by Nolan, but then they're not swarming all over the back of Nolan, but they're not... You know what I mean. They're not really all over the back of him, but they may be being a little bit held up in the dirty air, like you mentioned a little bit earlier on. As you can see in the background, Hero Jokin defending to the inside line ahead of it. Vision as they're going to turn 1. Vision with the fastest lap of the race on that lap, trying to get to the inside line. Just can't find a gap into turn 1. Can he get the run through 2 and down towards 3? Loses the rear of the car ever so slightly, and that all but ends his opportunity of going for the move into the braking zone. So he's going to have to sit and wait for a bit, as again he's late on the brakes compared to the Ferrari in front. Gets the car stopped and just can't find a gap, but Vision's just got to bide his time, wait for the right moment, and then make his move. But at the front of the field, it's starting to Constantina up a little bit, and you've got to say at this point in the race, while Nolan isn't under any pressure, F1 AMG and Martin Bell maybe just look a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, they do. Last lap, F1 AMG was really close. He was a tenth behind Nolan, but yeah, he just made the gap a bit bigger because it's just incredibly difficult to drive so close to another car in these conditions. But they're not putting the pressure on, but they letting themselves see by Nolan in his mirror, and trying to force a mistake by just staying behind him, and every corner when they come closer, they're just moving to the side a bit so he can see them in his mirrors, and trying to force a mistake that way.
Yeah, behind Hero Jokin currently in P5, the only person that is bigger than a second and a half behind the car in front currently is Nelly in P12. Everyone is very close as Jan's going for a move on Kelvin further down the field, down in towards turn 13. Jan is up another place, so starting to work his way back through the field ever so slightly, having qualified on the front row. Very unlike Jan, it's kind of the opposite of what we saw from him last season. Sometimes he'd qualify at the back and then work his way forwards as the race has gone on. This time round, he's spun to the back of the field after a great qualifying. Unfortunately, Kiki has left the session, so fingers crossed he can get back in that Renault that's currently in 10th, made that 11th, as Old School's now into the top 10 with a very easy move on that AI Renault. So hopefully Kiki can get back in, but that's probably going to drop dropping right towards the back of the field. But where Jan is right now, where do you see him maybe getting in this race?
Yeah, well, that's difficult to say because he really, as we said before the race started, last season his quality wasn't great, and he started at the back quite a few times, and he always came back to just some good racing. He qualified good, now made a mistake, so maybe this is a familiar spot for him to have a good race as well. And I believe I said it last season, maybe he just likes to overtake people because it's what he does and it's what he is good at. So the mistake got him into a familiar place, and he has to give it his all to get a good result now.
Yeah, if Jan is good at anything, it is overtaking. That is one of his strong points. Meanwhile, Kieran Trapper's gone up a place in the second half. He's gone ahead of Loris now and into 14th place. He'll quickly go into 13th, maybe get ahead of Kiki, who has rejoined the lobby, so Kiki might be able to take over control of that car in quick time without losing too many places in this race. But unfortunately, that's dropped him well out of that battle that he was in with his teammate and the two Williams cars at that point in time. We're on to lap 7 of this race. We're getting to the point now where people are going to start maybe struggling for grip on these intermediate tyres. And if you look at the racing line, obviously we're nowhere near dry conditions at the moment, but the racing line is actually quite dry compared to the rest of the track. So you've got to say that these guys are really going to be struggling with overheating tyres now. Yeah,
they are overheating tyres, and as you know, when your tyres and the division had a really brake late and then almost run into the back of Hero Joke, and you don't have any grip if your tires overheat, so you really have to be careful, and it's a tricky situation to be in. Go aggressive, smoke up your tires, and you have to go in early, which can cost you some positions as well. So you must be aggressive, but not too, because it's just going to cost you in the end.
Definitely is, yeah. If you're pushing too hard at the start, you will obviously, like you say, compromise yourself at the end of the race. Vision at the moment still a little bit stuck here at the back, as actually Nolan's lost the lead here. F1 AMG's gone for the move into turn 11. I completely missed that. Got a little bit of a timing glitch on my end, so I couldn't see the gap between the two of them. But F1 AMG has gone for the move into turn 11 and has got past Nolan. Martin Bell trying to follow him through, but F1 AMG, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, maybe waiting for the right moment, Nolan maybe made a mistake, F1 AMG's capitalised, and now F1 AMG is our new race leader.
Yeah, and now we can see if he's really quicker than Nolan, and if he's gonna disappear, because there's in these conditions you don't have any DRS, so probably gonna see him going, and if Martin Bell wants to follow him, he needs to pass Nolan quite quickly.
He definitely does, yeah. If he can, Nolan hold on to it. Has Nolan maybe cooked his tyres a little bit at this point in the race? Have F1 AMG and Martin Bell held on to their tyres a little bit better? Our prediction of F1 AMG possibly winning this race is coming to fruition at the moment, and Martin Bell's currently on the podium as well. So it's looking good for our predictions at the moment, so we'll have to wait and see how this race pans out further down the field. Both Ferraris still struggling a little bit. Hatari, though, there's not much of a queue now behind him at the moment. He's got Steph behind him in the Williams, but there's a bit of a gap back currently to Stephen Oldschool, who are currently battling over 9th place on the road. They've lost touch with these two in front just a little bit, so they're starting to really separate out into pairs of drivers now, really, aren't they? We've got F1 AMG, Nolan, Martin Bell as the three at the front of the field, as Martin Bell is really swarming all over the back of Nolan's car now. Nolan all of a sudden has dropped pace here. It's now 1.4 seconds is the gap to F1 AMG in a lap, as Gregster is out of the session, and that, I believe, is a full safety car. I think it is. No, it's a virtual safety car, sorry, I believe. So someone's coming to the pits. That's Kiki at the back of the field. He's pitted for the first time. I mistake that, unfortunately, for the safety car. Virtual safety car, and Gregster has lost the car coming out of turn 6. So we have our first casualty in the wet conditions, and in these conditions, that's just so easy to do.
Yeah, it is. In dry conditions, it's a tricky track to drive because it's quite high speed, but in the rain, it's just, it's so difficult. And this is the first one to go. I hope it's the last one, but I think we're going to have some more casualties tonight.
Definitely, yeah. I do think that might be the case as people start to warm their tyres up too much. It could be the possibility. And obviously the curbs and the AstroTurf here are quite big as well. So if you put your wheel on that curb, on the AstroTurf on the exit of a corner, when you put the power down in these wet conditions, it is very easy to spin the car. So that may be what has happened, unfortunately, there to Gregster, who unfortunately didn't see it. But start to the season for McLaren hasn't got off to the greatest of starts. Gregster is out. Kelvin is the last of the drivers that hasn't made a pit stop in this race. Kiki now, he's made an early pit stop, so he's gambling that he can make it to the end of the race on that set of intermediate tyres. But this is a great opportunity for him to try and recover some of those places he lost.
It is. He got tons of free air now. Yeah, and if he can make it, it's a good one. As I'm just watching F1 AMG, and he really had a good restart after the virtual safety car, because he's 1.7 seconds in front of Autogame Nolan now. So yeah, either he had a great restart or he's just getting them quickly now.
Yeah.
Nolan really struggling.
Definitely is. Meanwhile, further back, once again, the Ferrari is under a little bit of pressure here as Vision's trying to get the move done on Hero Jokin. You get the sense maybe Vision is getting a bit frustrated. He's going for a move down the inside of 11, and Hero Jokin's having absolutely none of it. Doesn't give him any room, and Vision has to back out of the corner. So Hero Jokin holds onto 5th place, but you get the sense Vision is starting to get a little bit frustrated in that 6th position. You can see Simply Superman just up the road, and you can imagine that probably Vision could get after that if he could find a gap, but at the moment he just can't seem to find anywhere to get that move done. Same with Steph in that Williams, can't find a way past Atari in the Ferrari. And this is exactly what we said at the end of qualifying and at the start of this race, that if you compromise your car to go for a wet setup, you're relying on yourself being able to get through the pack quite easily. And at the moment, Steph and Vision, while the start of the race was good for them, since then they've just kind of struggled and got stuck.
Yeah, just because there isn't a lot of room, and if you park your car in the middle of the road or just keep the racing line, there's nowhere you're gonna pass the driver in front of you. As again, Vision almost went into the back of Hero Jokin and almost outbroke himself. But yeah, so you can't pass them on the straights as well, because you have a lot more downforce. So the compromise of the better exit speed is you just don't have enough speed on the straights, and yeah, you're just going to be stuck behind someone. Vision almost lost it there. You're going to be stuck behind everyone and just getting frustrated, and then you have to be careful you don't make a big mistake.
Yes, again, Vision losing the rear of the car. They're coming out of turn 10. One thing to note here, look at the lead F1 AMG now has. 3.7 seconds. He's disappeared all of a sudden. So you imagine that F1 AMG, while he was sitting in second place, was just saving his tyres. And since then, now that he's got into the lead of the race, is using that freshness and is disappearing up the road. I just caught Nolan coming out of turn 3. He's got barely any grip on those tyres, suggesting to me that he's burnt those rears out. As again, through 14, he loses the rear of the car. Martin Bell was all over him, and then Martin Bell himself made a mistake, got on the curb on the exit at turn 6, and got sucked into the gravel on the exit at the corner. Didn't lose a place, but lost a lot of time. And again, Nolan sideways coming out the last corner. Martin Bell closing back in again, trying to get this move done. But this is just allowing F1 AMG to disappear up the road. And it is now allowing Simply Superman to close back in on these two. And Hero Jokin's now starting to drag that queue of cars behind as well. So after a great start and a great qualifying for Nolan, it looks like maybe he's gone too aggressive with his setup, because he's completely burnt through his intermediates.
Yes, and again, Vision really needs to be careful he doesn't outbreak himself. But yeah, Nolan, yeah, he really has to be careful, because he's sliding everywhere. On the entry of the corner, on the exit of the corner, he's a bit tail happy when he puts the power down, and it's starting to put Martin Bell off a bit as well, because he doesn't have the confidence to overtake him and making little mistakes himself as well.
Yes, here we go. Martin Bell got a great run there out of turn 10. Is he going to be close enough towards 11? Is he going to try the same move as F1 AMG? No, he's not. He's not close enough, so he has to stay back for the time being. Can he get the run out of 12 and down towards 13? But actually, Nolan gets it nicely done. But Nolan picks up a time penalty on the exit of the corner, so he's the first of our top 5 to pick up the time penalty in this race. So that only further compounds his position in this race, with all 3 of the drivers behind him on the road within penalty range. So Nolan's going to have to try and build a gap. We're on to lap 11 of this race. If Nolan's struggling now, as Old School's getting the move done on Steve here, he's up into through turn 13, he's up into 9th place, so he's up another place in this race and 13th on the grid, and he's got a lot of clean air in front of him now, so he can try and push and close in as the drivers in front start to battle. Jan meanwhile is trying to get through the field as well. He's onto the back of Langfell, down the inside of Langfell at turn 14. They make a little bit of contact. Jan nearly loses the rear of the car. They're still side by side into the penultimate corner. Langfell's just about going to hold on, but Jan's going to try the move here coming out of the last corner. Is he going to be close enough to the back of Langfell towards turn 1? He's not quite going to be there, but Jan's starting to work his way through nicely. you've got to say the problem now for Nolan is that if he pits now, he's only going to compound the issue because he then has to go 18 laps on another set of intermediates, which would be nigh on impossible for him.
Yeah, as his tires are now, I think he won't make it on 18 laps on intermediate. So yeah, he has to stretch his tires a bit more and keep Martin Bell off his back, which is hard enough already. But the only thing I think he's hoping for now is Simply Superman is closing in every corner.
There goes Martin Bell though. Martin Bell round the outside of Nolan towards turn 11. Got a great run. Nolan's going to keep it down the inside, but Martin Bell goes screaming around the outside. Has to cut turn 12 though. Takes a really shallow line, and Nolan's got a great run on the exit of the corner around the outside towards turn 13. But Martin Bell's got a good car in a straight line. Nolan very late on the brakes, squeezes Martin Bell onto the curb. Great defensive move there from Nolan. He holds on to second place. Martin Bell couldn't get the move done, so Nolan holds on. But that now means that F1 AMG has a net near 10-second lead already as both Martin Bell and Nolan are into the pit lane, which I think at this point in the race, surely that's too early.
Yeah, I think so. We spoke about it earlier. I think it's too soon, but what great defending from Nolan. I really thought Martin Bell had him, but he came back and in great fashion as well. I mean, the way he went around the outside in the last couple of corners is great, and yeah, this is looking promising. Martin Bell's
actually jumped Nolan in the pit lane here. So Nolan got a little bit held there by the Red Bull, and Martin Bell's ended up coming out ahead of Nolan. So Nolan crucially behind him, and could be behind Kelvin here as Kelvin comes round the second corner. Nolan got a really poor run there through the corner. Is Kelvin going to think about going for a move on Nolan down towards turn 3? Obviously, Kelvin's still yet to pit in this race, but that could lose Nolan more time. But Kelvin doesn't go for the move. Hatari, though, unfortunately for him, he is stuck behind the McLaren here, so that could really compromise his race. Old School also came into the pits on that lap. He's out in 16th place, 5 seconds off the back of the Ferrari, so his now task is to try and close in. Jan also pitted on that lap. He's out in 19th and last place on the road behind Kiki and his teammate David. So Jan still yet to work his way forwards in this race. F1 AMG now, though, he built up such a big lead in those laps that he doesn't really have to worry about the undercut anymore.
No, he was yeah, just that far in front. The only thing he's going to be watching it now, I think, is the guys behind him, because he doesn't want to get held up. But yeah, I think he can stretch his tires a bit more as he's winning time, gaining time every lap.
Yeah, definitely is. Meanwhile, Hero Joker and Vision are both into the pit lane now at the end of lap 13, so they come in for a new set of intermediate tyres. So Hero Joker in. Now, Vision, this is a bit of an odd choice for me from Vision to come in at the same time as Hero Jokin, since he's been stuck behind that Ferrari this entire race. He's decided to pit on the same laps, which only means he's still going to be stuck behind that Ferrari. So he comes out directly behind him in the pit lane. Where are they relative to the people that have already pitted? As Hero Jokin nearly loses the rear of the car there, coming out of the pit lane. They are actually going to stay ahead, I think, of Hatari. Actually, no, I think Vision's been jumped by Hatari here. So Hatari, by bitting a lap earlier, may struggle towards the end of the race, but for this point onwards, he's put himself ahead of Vision, which has only compounded Vision's issue in this race.
Yeah, he looked quicker, Vision. So if I were him,
ooh, my word.
If I were him, I would just go a lap longer and try to overcut Hero Jokin. But yeah, he's going to be stuck behind 2 Ferraris now.
Yeah, he is. He's already passed Atari once in this race, so he's got to do it again and get past Hero Jokin. Meanwhile, behind them is, oh my word, look how close Vision is to the back of the Ferrari there, coming out of turn 7. Is he going to think of a move? Maybe into turn 9. He looks to the inside, he's late on the brakes, but he can't get that move done. He's got so much more grip in the middle of the corner that he keeps actually running into the back of the Ferrari and unsettling the car, which only seems to make it worse because then Vision has to back off and can't go for the move at the next corner. Our race leader is into the pit lane, then F1 MG into the pits. Simply Superman's in. Simply Superman, sorry, should be coming in, and Shodes and Steph as well. So that's pretty much everyone into the pit lane, apart from Flores and Langfell, who are still out on the track, as Martin Bell's actually passed Langfell and is up into 5th place on the road. So one thing to note here is, one thing I noticed is that Well, actually, Steph has passed Simply Superman on the way into the pit lane by the looks of things, amazingly. So Steph has made a place for Simply Superman on the entrance to the pit lane. In free air, both of the Williams all of a sudden have come alight because Steph closed in on the back of Simply Superman incredibly quickly. And Old School on that previous lap halved the gap between himself and the Ferrari. So both Williams are really flying. And look at that. Steph has actually come out ahead of Hero Jokin. So that is an incredible overcut from Steph. He's managed to jump 4 cars, I think, in the pit lane there by staying out 2 laps longer, and now he has a great possibility of being on the podium.
Ontari side by side with Simple Superman.
Well, is Vision going to try and capitalise here around the outside of 4? There's even more contact between the two of them. This is only bringing Old School closer into this battle as Vision loses the rear of the car there on the way into 6, and Old School has to back off of going for a move. I don't know if Vision's picked up damage because of that. I think he's got away with it, but a little bit messy there coming out the pit lane. Vision can't make the move stick, and he's still stuck behind that Ferrari. He's now got Old School directly behind him in the Williams, but Steph is the big winner out of all of that.
Yeah, he is. And this is what I thought Vision would have done as well. The overcut is possible and huge in Steph's favor. I mean, jumping 4 cars in 1 lap is incredible.
That is really, really good stuff. The fact that you passed Simply Superman on the braking zone into the pit lane as well really saved him there, because Simply Superman's come out behind Hero Jokin. So that is beautiful stuff. And he's only 2 seconds off the back of Nolan, who's on the oldest set of intermediate tyres of those that have pitted in front of him and has a time penalty. So you've got to say towards the end of the race, Steph looking at a possible podium here. Front of the field, F1AMG continues to lead. The gap's down to 6.9 seconds. Martin has closed it in, being on the fresher and being onto the intermediates a little bit earlier on, but that battle between Nolan and Martin Bell has all but sealed this race. You've got to say F1AMG looking comfortable out front.
Yeah, he is, and I think he's just saving tyres. This is what we saw in Season 1 as well, with F1AMG comfortably in front and able to save tyres and set the pace. I mean, he doesn't have to push because he isn't under pressure, so yeah, why risk ending your race as you can just make a Sunday drive out of it and finish the race.
Yeah, exactly. If you can get to the end of the race without really any problems, without any tyre problems because of your clean driving, then that is a win-win situation, especially with both drivers being on much older tyres, as Kelvin's now retired in the pit lane, so both McLarens out of this race, unfortunately. Once again, Hatari under pressure from Vision here. Vision's going to try and go around the outside of turn 9. That's a bold move. If you can try and pull that off, it's down the inside still for turn 10. Even more contact on Almo. Word, Vision loses the rear of the car, gets away with it, but Old School's going to try and capitalise on this around the outside towards turn 11. Vision's going to try and squeeze him towards the wall, but Old School trying to capitalise on the move, goes around the outside, and Vision can do nothing about it. Vision's aggressiveness, trying to go for the move in unorthodox places, has actually caught him out, and Vision, for maybe possibly challenging for a podium position on terms of pace, has now dropped another place.
Yeah, and it's what almost happened a lap earlier in turn 2 or 3, I believe, as well. He really needs to calm down a bit and try to overtake sensibly, because he's only he's only frustrating himself at the moment.
Yeah, at the moment he is really frustrating himself. It's just not working for him, and you can see in his body language and the driving style, he's trying everything he can to get these moves done, and it is just not working. And somehow Vision has burnt through almost all of his ERS in the process as well, as Atari gets really sideways there coming out of turn 2, but Old School isn't going to be close enough to capitalise on that. A bit further down the field then, everyone has made their stops in this race by the looks of things. Kiki obviously on the oldest set of intermediates, having pitted a lot earlier than everyone else. One thing to note, Jan's race has gone from bad to worse to utterly horrible. He's had to pit for a second time and is now 34 seconds off the back of the car in front. So Jan, this is going to be a race to forget for him.
Yeah, the only thing which can save him now is a full safety car. But yeah, you know, sometimes you have races like this, and he started in second position, it's down into 18th now. Just forget this one and get into the next one.
Yeah, it's how quickly you can bounce back and how quickly you can recover is what really defines your championships in these kind of seasons. If you can recover quickly, then that is what helps. Obviously, Jan, like you say, needs a safety car to bring himself back into contention, and who knows, that could happen at some point in this race, but at the moment it is looking a little bit unlikely that is going to happen. The track is slightly drying out, but we're obviously still nowhere near dry conditions as it stands, so these guys are going to continue to struggle with overheating on these intermediate tyres, and Steph is nearly within a second now of Nolan, who continues to fall away from the top 2 in this race. So after a great qualifying, it looks like Nolan maybe didn't compromise the setup enough, and when the time came to it, he just overheated his tyre and has been swamped by the faster drivers around him.
Yeah, he did, and let's hope he can keep these tires alive until the end of the race. But yes, Steph is closing in relatively quickly, but we've seen how Nolan can defend, and he did great a couple of laps ago. So yeah, being on the back of someone is one, but passing them is a completely other different thing.
Yeah, we have seen that a lot of times in this race, that you can easily get to the back of someone, but if you can't get the move done, it is incredibly difficult to get that overtake done at another stage. You kind of have to take the first opportunity that comes to you, otherwise you could get massively held here. So looking a bit further down the field, then outside the top 10, Nelly currently holds 10th place in this race. He's not really under much threat from the drivers behind. Sean is the closest driver to him in the second Red Bull, and then it's Steve, David and Kiki behind that. It's not gone well in the second half of the race for the Renaults, unfortunately. Steve, earlier on in this race, was battling the two Williams. Steph is now currently in a net third place in this race. Well, actually, no, it's just picked up a penalty. So Steph is now running in 4th place in this race. Old School's running in 8th, and unfortunately, Steve has dropped down to 12th place. So very similar to last season, where the start of the race seems to go well for Steve, but as soon as it comes to the pit stops and the strategy, he just seems to lose touch.
Yeah, it's really something. If he wants to compete in for the championship, he needs to work on. But yeah, it's just the first race now. Just like Jen, save what you can. At least finish the race, because even if you finish in P19, which isn't possible anymore because we only have 18 drivers left, you still get the points.
Yeah. Exactly, if you just pick up any couple of points, could help you win the championship. Obviously, last season's championship was won, I believe, by a single point. So any point matters in this championship. Like you say, as into the pit lane comes Kiki for a second time. So he couldn't get those tyres to the end of the race, it seems. He's come in for another set of intermediates. So he's going to drop down into 17th place. He'll be comfortably clear of Jan, but he's down into 17th. We'll see where he can get to in this race, whether the fresh intermediates will help him later on. We could see later on in this race where a lot of drivers on the intermediates really start to burn out their tyres. That could be the order of the day at the end of this race. Vision, meanwhile, is all over the back of Old School once again. And one thing to note here is that Vision, again, all over the back of Old School. Old School's not all over the back of Hatari in front. Hatari's closing in on Simply Superman, and Hero Jokin on this second set has really pulled away from Simply Superman.
Yeah, he did. I mean, it was quite close before between these guys, but yeah, gaps are really starting to form now, and yeah, that's the thing in these conditions. One little mistake every 5 laps can lose you so much time to the guy in front of you. So really have to play it safe. But yeah, Vision falling a bit back now. He really wants to overtake, and I must give Old School a compliment. I mean, his teammate is in 4th now, but Old School is really driving a good race. He takes the opportunities as they come. Is not over aggressively, just yeah, looks confident.
One thing to note there, Vision, I just heard the noise of the engine disappearing in the background. Vision's lost the rear of the car coming out the last corner and has hit the pit wall, so he's broken his front wing in the Haas. So what looked like a promising race at the start is just kind of starting to fall apart, unfortunately, for the lead Haas car in this race. He's got great pace, but just nowhere to use it, and now that damage has all but sealed his chances of beating the drivers in front. It's all about now, can Nelly and maybe Sean try and close in, because obviously Sean does not have a penalty in this race. One thing to note as well, Hero Jokin doesn't have a penalty, and both drivers in front of him do. So if he can close into the back of this battle between Nolan and Steph and hold on to them, Hero Jokin could steal the podium off the pair of them here.
Yeah, and that's still 2 guys we predicted right, so pretty good so far. Don't want to curse anyone. I mean, we've done that in the past as well, so didn't say anything, sorry.
Yeah, we can't. I mean, the amount of people I've cursed in my time in commentary, I mean, the list could be endless at this point. One thing to note as well, obviously, Martin Bell and Nolan, like we said, are the people on the oldest set of intermediate tyres, along with Hatari and Old School at this point in the race. But Martin Bell, you can tell, maybe at the start of this race was just biding his time with Nolan, because on the same set of tyres, Martin Bell has just slowly but steadily just pulled away from Nolan.
Yeah, he did. He gapped Nolan just as F1 AMG gapped him, and it's all staying stable now. So I think, yeah, it's kind of a lonely race for F1 AMG and Martin Bell. But in the end, I think with a podium on the first race, they're going to be satisfied and thinking, yeah, well, you know what, give me a boring race then.
Yeah, and this is definitely going to rejuvenate F1 AMG after a disappointing season in Division 2 where he was really outshone by both of the people that he moved up with, Jonis and Mashiro. They really outshone him, unfortunately, last season, which I think, especially myself, I wasn't expecting that. So this is a real rejuvenation for him if he can come in and win the first race of the season, which at the moment he looks very easily to do. And Kiki, unfortunately, has left the session again. I was just about to say that on that previous lap, Kiki was 2.3 seconds faster. Lang fell in front. So that just goes to show the advantage of a fresh set of intermediate tyres. He was absolutely flying. So it's a shame he's unfortunately left the lobby again. Hopefully he can get back in and continue and get those points at the end of this race. But yeah, it just goes to show a fresh set of intermediate tyres can be very strong here. So those people on an older set of intermediate tyres towards the end of this race, you've got to say, are really going to struggle. Nolan really started to struggle after about lap 10 or 11 on his intermediate tyres, which is only a couple of laps away, and we've still got 7 laps to go when we cross the line.
Yeah. So if he's starting to struggle, Steph is just waiting there. As he fall off a little bit. Don't know if he's doing that on purpose to get out of dirty areas and save his tires, but Steph is going to be there to capitalize. And as you said before, Hero Jokin right behind him with no penalty. So yeah, I think he's in the best spot besides P1 and P2.
You're at the moment, Hero Jokin definitely in the second half of this race so far, touch wood, but Hero Jokin has come alive a little bit in the second half of this race. He's looked much more confident as Vision has retired in the pit lane, unfortunately. That is such a shame to see. He was having a good race up until, unfortunately, the pit stop phase, and he is out of it, so he won't score any points, unfortunately. I think that's more out of frustration than anything else, but he still probably would have walked away from this race from a top 10 result, which is a real shame to see him retire from that one, but that promotes Sean now inside the top 10, and he's within penalty range of Nelly in front, so a 9th place is on the cards for Sean at the moment. Steve is directly behind him, but Steve has also got a penalty himself as well, so Steve at the moment isn't necessarily a threat to the second Red Bull in this race. So we'll have to wait and see how it pans out as Kiki has rejoined the lobby, which is good to see. That puts Kiki back up into 16th and Jan up another place as well, so the more people that retires, the more it helps Jan and Kiki later on in the season.
Yeah, it does. They still get the points, so everybody who's gonna retire or crash out now is just gonna be 3 points for them, because they're quite a way of the guys in front of them, so I don't see them coming back. But yeah, we've seen stranger things happen in Division 3 before.
Yeah, we definitely have. We have since some very odd things happened in the past. Just going back to that battle now for 3rd place. Nolan in 3rd place. I don't know what has happened to Steph in these past couple of laps, but I initially thought that he was backing off just to try and get some clean air, but it does actually look like Steph is struggling all of a sudden. So maybe running that close to the back of the Alfa Romeo has hindered his tyres a little bit. Maybe he started to overheat them running so close, and it's just caused him to drop back, because all of a sudden that gap is now nearly 2 seconds, and Hero Jokin's out all over the back of him.
Yeah, incredible. I didn't see that one coming, but yeah, that just shows what's going on in Division 3 here. But yeah, if Hero Jokin can stay close to Steph, yeah, maybe he can force Steph into a mistake and yeah, capitalize on that and hopefully get on the back of Nolan. But as it's looking now, Nolan is safe.
Yeah, at the moment it's getting closer and closer to Nolan being safe. It's 2.9 seconds, I think, the gap at the moment, so it's right on the bubble for Nolan to hold on to the podium at the moment. It all depends on how he can keep his tyres towards the end of the race. Behind that as well, Simply Superman in 6th place. He's got a penalty. Hatari behind him doesn't have a penalty. Remember, this is Hatari's debut race in TTML in Division 3, so this has been a good race for him so far. Old School's still on the back of him, but much like we saw Vision earlier on, Old School's got a lot of pace, but just nowhere really to use it.
Yeah, and that's really frustrating. If you can't overtake someone and you know you're faster. I mean, he leads faster, falls back sometimes to maybe save his tires and get some clean air. Is within a lap back on him again, but he just can't pass. So Hantari, if he stays cool, and he doesn't have a penalty as well, so even if he makes a mistake, just keep on the back of Old School and yeah. Great debut race.
Yeah, it's been a great debut race for him so far. Much like his teammate, he struggled early on, but as the race has gone on, it's just better and better suited the Ferraris, and they've been able to hold on. Old School trying to run down towards 3, but just isn't quite close enough. At the moment, we said earlier on that it was Williams the one to look out for in the manufacturers, and then it was Alfa Romeo that shone in qualifying, and now all of a sudden Ferrari have had a really good race here as well. So it seems like our predictions it seems like our team #1 prediction keeps changing, but it looks like at the moment at least the 3 strongest lineups may be the Williams, Ferrari and Alfa Romeo lineups.
Yeah, they definitely do. And Alfa Romeo lineup still in a better position because Nolan is in third. But yeah, all these guys really look strong for the constructors' finishing.
As I say that, Hatari spun the car. That is such a shame. Coming out of turn 10, I think it just got on the curb and has unfortunately spun the Ferrari round. And that is that a full safety car? It is a full safety car. Wow.
No.
So a full safety car for the debris that was on the track for Hatari. And that means everyone is going to close back up for the end of this race. So this is going to be very interesting to see who... I mean, you probably wouldn't expect anyone to come into the pit lane at this point because of the fact that it's wet, but this could massively help a lot of people that are on a fresher set of tyres. And I tell you who this really helps now is Hero Jokin. That possibility of him maybe losing that podium place, it's fallen right back into his palm.
Yeah, it does. I mean,
Old School's in. Wow.
Old School's in.
Wow, Old School into the pit lane. So he's coming in. His intermediate tyres are 12 laps old. They probably would have made it to the end, and this is going to be a relatively short safety car distance. He's going to come out behind Nelly, so Nelly's now back up into 7th. Sean's up into 8th all of a sudden. Once again, Sean's done what he did last season and just popped up out of nowhere in these races, and he's now running in 8th place, so Red Bull all of a sudden getting a lot of points. The good thing for Old School is a lot of drivers behind him also pitted, so Flores is now running in the top 10 for the first time. I think maybe in his Division 3 career, he's running inside the top 10 towards the end of the race. Hatari's left the lobby, unfortunately. Langfell's up to 11th. Kieran and Steve have also pitted along with David and Hatari as well. And this could bring Kiki and Jan back onto the Kira cars as well. So now, really, the thing we've got to watch towards the end of this race has got to be Old School.
Yeah, but we've seen before, he's quick, and even, I mean, you're quicker on fresh tires, but you still have to get those overtakes done. And it is incredibly difficult to do. But Flores as well, if he can keep up with Old School, I mean, he's definitely one of the, and I don't mean to disrespect him, one of the slower drivers in the division. If he can keep up with these guys and he doesn't pick up a penalty, he's going to get a great result as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like you say, he's kept it clean, as has Langfell as well. Langfell qualified in this race in last place, by the way, so he obviously crashed in qualifying and didn't set a valid time, so down at the back of the field, he's just kind of been at the back of the field with Flores for the majority of this race, but the safety car has brought him right back into play, and being penalty free could massively help him as well. So this could also now help AlphaTauri in the Manufacturers Championship. So just as we were talking about strong driver lineups, it's all kind of flipped around once again, so who knows how this could pan out. We've obviously going on to lap 26, so the safety car will have to come in at the end of lap 27 at the latest, and you would imagine with how far back Jan is, we're probably only going to get 2 laps of green flag racing left towards the end, so it might be a little bit chaotic towards the end of this race. One thing for Jan, a little bit, maybe not the right choice for him, because he pitted again under the safety car, and oh, look at that, he's all spun the car. Jan spun the car, putting the overtake on through turn 8 under the safety car, and has lost the rear of the car and put the car in the wall. So Jan, pitting for a fresh set of intermediates, nearly got lapped, probably wouldn't have caught the safety car, and has now crashed out and probably won't score any points because of it.
Yeah, he definitely isn't going to score points because of that. So, yeah, don't really understand. But yeah, that's the thing. If your race just started good because he qualified on P2, absolutely got destroyed by his own doing. Just a bit frustrated, and I think he just wanted to try something. And yeah, failed in it.
Yeah, that is such a shame for Jan after off the back of such a good season last time out. That is probably one of the worst performances we've seen from him so far. That is such a shame to see him down the back of the field not scoring any points. Hopefully he can bounce back next week with a great result, but that does mean we could get the safety car going at the end of this lap. We'll wait and see. We have to wait and see when they get through the second sector split whether they're all close enough, and they're not quite there, so It all depends on whether we get David and Kieran to the back of the queue in time. Hatari's car is still driving around, but remember, he's not in control of that car, unfortunately. So at the moment, because he's not in control of that car, it looks like he won't score any points himself. So we'll wait and see if we are going to get the safety car in at the end of this lap. By the looks of things, it's going to stay out maybe for another lap, which helps F1AMG and Martin Bell because they're not going to be under as much pressure as they would have been. And this only hinders Old School as well because he is not going to be able...
I think the safety car is going to come in because F1AMG really falling back, so...
Yeah, it is. I didn't get the notification up on my screen, unfortunately. But yeah, the safety car is coming in. So we've got 3 laps left in this race for these drivers. Who is going to be able to benefit from this safety car period? F1AMG out of the penultimate corner is now going to go, I think, midway through the last corner here. He's going to go on the exit. Yes, he is. He goes to the safety car restart. Martin Bell reacts well, though, in the Red Bull. The one person that didn't react well was Nolan. He's under pressure from Steph. Hirajokin's really under pressure from Simply Superman. He could lose his podium here if he loses out to Simply Superman, who's trying to go around the outside at turn 1, but can't get the move done. So Hirajokin holds on to 5th place for the time being, but Simply Superman seems to have a lot more temperature in his tyres at the safety car restart. So does Steph as well. Steve's getting a move done on his Renault teammate. He's past Kiki. Simply Superman trying to look down the inside, can't get the move done. Nelly runs wide, and Sean's trying to have a look at maybe going into P8, but he can't get the move done either at that corner. So now Old School's going to get a little bit held here on his fresh set of intermediate tyres. Steve is the only one that made a place at that safety car restart. Nelly a little bit wide in the racing point again there at turn 6. A lot of people struggling for tyre temperature at the safety car restart, but not a lot of people really being able to capitalise on it.
No, not yet, but Old School's really looking confident on these new, brand new tires, so he's definitely going to try something.
With Steve.
Langfell.
Steve going for a move. Yeah, Steve going for a move on Langfell. Steve is looking very strong in his fresh intermediate tyres. Passes his teammate and is now past Langfell and is up into 11th place. So it's starting to come alive for the Renault team here as he goes up into 11th place. Flores is next to him. He's in 10th place. A top 10 slot for Steve would be great for him. Remember, he has got a penalty though, so he's going to lose out to these guys if it stays like this. Old School having a look at Sean. As Sean's trying to go around the outside here of Nelly, around the outside of 13. Can he get it done? He's going to go around the outside of 14. He might get forced onto the curb here. They get away with it. It'll be down the inside for the penultimate corner, but he's not close enough, and Old School himself can't capitalise either. Sean, oh, and there we go.
Oh.
Nelly kind of cuts across Sean while he was a little bit alongside. They both lose it, and they both drop towards the back of the field. Nelly drops down into 13th. Sean drops down into 10th place. Old School's like a parting of the Red Sea for him. He goes up into 7th place and has got some free air. Flores now runs in 8th place with no penalties, and Nolan, has Nolan spun the car? He has. Nolan, our pole sitter, with 2 laps to go, has spun the car coming out of turn 2, and that has put Steph on the podium. What such a shame for Nolan. After running in the podium places all race, it's all fallen apart from him right at the end.
Yeah, it's always sad to see a race for someone like Nolan end like this, because he was doing really good. Even with his quite aggressive setup, he was struggling at the start, but doing really good now. But it's so hard to keep up. So much happening everywhere on the track now.
It's all starting to blow up as Steve's trying to get a move done on Flores here for 8th place on the road. Flores must be thinking that Christmas has come nearly 300 days early for him, because this is a great opportunity for him to score some great points. But Steve is absolutely flying on his fresh set of intermediate tyres. Sean is trying to recover as well after that moment with Nelly. They've obviously both dropped down because of it towards the back of the field. David still runs in 15th place in the Mercedes, but they're all queued up, ready to make some moves stick if the opportunity comes. Is Steve close enough to Flores? No, he's not. Flores holds on to 8th place going into the corner, and they're starting to close in on Nolan, who has that damage. So that's only going to help Flores, I think, as he starts to close in on the back of the Alfa Romeo. At the front of the field, F1AMG is safe out in front. Martin Bell is safe in 2nd place. Steph runs in 3rd, but he's going to lose his penalty. He's going to lose his podium as it stands to Hirajokin based on penalties. Old School's trying to get a move on as Simply Superman for P5, but he can't get close enough into turn 1, so it's all about his run out of this corner. Is he close enough to the back of the Alfa Romeo? It's not looking like he's going to be close enough. As it stands, while he's made places because of other people's mistakes, the fresh intermediates hasn't really worked for Old School.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't, and only because of other people's mistakes. So, I wonder where he would have been if he didn't come in. But even though he isn't going to struggle as much as some other guys like Hero Jogan and Simply Superman, who are doing 14 and 15 laps already on these tires, and Martin Bell doing 16.
Yeah, it's all Nelly here trying to capitalise. Look at that from Nelly down the inside of Kiki. Kiki lost the rear of the car, making contact with Sean and always lost the rear of the car there. Again, it's Kiki, and that's caught Langfell out, and they both dropped down the field because of it. David capitalises that on that as well. It all kind of got a little bit chaotic in the midfield, and only got 2 places on the way into turn 6 because of it. So he's back up into 11th. That's good for him, but Kiki caught out by that, and so was Langfell. So it's all fallen apart for them at the end of this race. Old School with another run at Simply Superman here, down towards turn 13. Is he close enough into the braking zone? No, he's not. He's not going to be there. F1 AMG qualified this race in 3rd place. He moved down after a Division 2 season that was disappointing last time around. He's back in Division 3, and he's going to do it in style. Race winner, the first race of the season. AlphaTauri for the 2nd season in a row. We're going to win the first race of the season. F1 AMG is the first winner of TTML Division 3 Season 3. Martin Bell gets on the podium. Steph crosses the line 3rd, but Hero Jokin will take that podium off of Steph for the Ferrari team. So Hero Jokin on the podium for the first time since his win at the first race of the season last time around. Steph gets 4th ahead of Simply Superman. Flores ends up 6th on penalties. What a performance from Flores in the end, who struggled so much for pace in previous seasons. That's by far his best result in TTML. Old School gets 7th ahead of Nelly, who recovers to 8th despite that contact with Sean Layton. Langfell gets 9th, and Kieran ends up inside the top 10. Nolan drops to 11th, having run in the podium spaces all race long. Sean drops to 12th. Atari's AI car ends up in 13th. Steve dropped to 14th on penalties in the end, so despite the pace, the penalties were too much for him, and he dropped to the back of the field, along with David and Kiki, who finished that race in 15th and 16th place. That was a chaotic way to end. We had a little bit of a delay, but the race was well worth it. And F1 AMG, what a performance from him.
Yeah, this is what we used to see in Season 1, what we predicted at the start of this race, and yeah, he did it. So even though we thought he could do it, he did it as well. So GG's on him.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant stuff. And the wet weather promise coming into fruition once again for F1 AMG. What a drive from him. It is also such a shame that Martin Bell was a reserve driver, because, my word, every time he's come in as a reserve, he has put in some stellar performances. Yet another podium for Martin Bell in that Red Bull. And Hero Jokin, first time on the podium since winning at the first round of the season last time around. So he'll be really pleased with that. That's a great way to start his campaign as well. So another podium for him. Steph in the end, only 4th, unfortunately, for the Williams team. The Williams compromised their setups in the qualifying for the wet conditions. They did gain places, but not as much as they were hoping, maybe. And Steph not coming away with a podium for the first time in many, many races. It's the first time Steph hasn't been on the podium. Simply Superman in 5th place, just didn't really have the pace today to capitalise on people around him. Flores, what a drive for him in the Racing Point, getting 6th ahead of Old School in 7th, who dropped back because of penalties late on. Nelly 8th ahead of Langfell and Kieran, Nolan, Sean, Hatari 13th, but he was AI, so he won't score the points. Steve, David and Kiki, your final finisher. Jan, Vision, Kelvin and Gregster were your retirements from this race. And my word, it was an up and down race, and coming into it I was maybe expecting the Williams to be right at the front. In the end, it's AlphaTauri and F1 AMG that will take the win.
Yeah, and we get the constructors wrong every time, because last season and Season 1 as well, we did some pre-race predictions on a strong team, and we had it completely wrong.
Yeah, we really did, yeah. I mean, all the teams seem to have their pros and cons, it seems, at this point in the season. So it's going to be very, very difficult to predict, once again, who's going to come out on top. And I'm going to ask you the impossible question. We've had one round, and it's a wet race around Australia, so it's not a fully representative round. But who do you think's favourite for the championship after that race?
Yeah, on this race alone and what we've seen in Season 1, I think F1 AMG.
Yeah, you really can't bet against him. I fully agree with you on that one as well. I do think Steph, it was a good recovery for him as well, but we've seen so much promise from F1 AMG in the past, so if you get more races like that, F1 AMG could be in a stellar place going through the rest of the season. Got to say, for Nolan, it's such a shame he had a late race spin. In the dry conditions, at least, it does look like Nolan probably would have been the fastest driver today.
Yeah, it does, and that's the thing to look out for. I don't know what setup F1 AMG was running today, but in the rain he was the fast today, but in the dry, really curious to see what happens then, because there's not one, but really just 6 guys who could be the fastest. So it's going to be something really hard prediction, but.
It is, yeah. It's going to be hard to predict the rest of the season. I think it might be quite up and down for a lot of drivers. It would depend on on the track really we go to next as to who's going to be fastest there. But I wouldn't want to make too many bold predictions at this point because we've made bold predictions today and they all went horribly wrong. So who knows how the rest of the season is going to pan out. Obviously, tune in to League Racing TV for the rest of the week for Divisions 4 and 5, taking place tomorrow at Australia as well. So, hopefully for Conti, I don't know if you like Australia or the wet conditions. I don't know what you're hoping for from your race, but I probably guess it's maybe not a race as crazy as that one.
No, yeah, I really love Australia. It's one of my favorite tracks, but in the dry. So please, weather gods, let me have a dry race tomorrow.
So tune into that on League Racing TV at 8 PM tomorrow for Divisions 4 and 5, and then obviously next week Division 1 will be back for the second round at Bahrain, and our Esports Masters League is back next Wednesday at 7 PM for the League 1 tier and 8:30 PM for the Premier Division of that. So tune into those next Wednesday, and we are back next Thursday for round 2, which will take place at Bahrain. Obviously, traditionally the second round of the season. It will be the first round of the season for real Formula 1 this time around, and that was sure to be another great race. But from myself and Conti, it's thank you very much for tuning in for the first race of the season, and we will see you this time next week. Goodbye.